that doctor of anesthesiology. What's that balloon show? The red balloon?
Oh, pop the balloon.
Pop the balloon.
That.
Yo.
He was like, yeah, I'm a doctor. They pop, 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 pop.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring out our next single guy.
My name is Roman. I just graduated from USF as a doctor for anesthesia.
Yo, it was like a AK-47 in there. Either all or most of the girls popped their balloons. Was it because of the time? Oh, he wasn't as established in his career.
I'm looking for someone a little bit more seasoned in their career, a little bit more financially stable and things of that nature.
There's a lot of messages from men who are saying you dodged a bullet. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just going to put this out there.
I was going to say the same thing.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Docs Outside the Box, everyone. This is the podcast episode. This is the Q&A segment. We're going to put your questions and, yes, even some of your frustrations front and center. I am Dr. Nee Darko, trauma surgeon, podcaster since 2016. Dr. Renee, one more year or even less than a year. We're going to be doing this for 10 years.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be a decade.
Every episode, y'all, we are diving into topics that matter to you. Anything from financial freedom, walking away from toxic work cultures, which we both know about. And I do want to start encouraging people to write in, leaving voicemails. So if you got something to say, leave us a voicemail, a DM. And listen, if you leave us a voicemail, if you leave us a DM, or record in some form or fashion, you might hear your story featured here. So super excited.
If you leave a comment in any of our posts, you might also find yourself featured.
The other thing too that I want to say is I want to encourage everybody who's listening on DSPs. So just the audio version of this podcast. I'm talking about Spotify, Google Music, YouTube Music, Apple, whatever it may be, you can still leave ratings. So we really need the ratings to help the show to grow. So please leave us a rating. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, and also give us a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. So that's my little bit of an intro that I want to do. So Dr. Renee, how you doing? What's up? How you doing?
I got bit by a spider. I think I got bit by a spider.
Why do you say that?
Well, what had happened was I went to my locums assignment, and for whatever reason, it was very weird this time, but there weren't any patients. So I went back to my hotel room, and it's Friday night, and at some point on Friday or Saturday morning, maybe end of the night, I don't know, I had this itch on my wrist. And then I realized I had like a little raised bump or something. And I thought, I was outside, maybe I got bit by a mosquito. But it was weird because it was like two things side by side, right? Two little bites side by side. So I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Then my feet started tingling all weekend long. Numbness, tingling, burning, paresthesias the entire weekend. And then I came home on Monday and I said to you, my feet are like tingling. Like, this is crazy. Because when I left on Friday, feet
you sure it's
were
not
fine.
syphilis?
Tabies dorsalis. Pop, 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 pop. No. I had good proprioceptive perception. So,
work husband.
And if it's syphilis, then good luck to you.
And your work husband.
Shut up, me. Oh, work husband. And so after I said that to you, you're like, check your back, check your labs. And I was like, okay. I just thought it was strange that the onset was just so sudden. And then I looked at my wrist and I was like, did I get bit by a spider? Is there like venom? Somebody tell me, who's out there what doctor does that?
Leave us a voice message or a DM. And we will, I think that's infectious disease or toxicology, I think.
Tropical medicine.
Yeah. Or ER.
Or ER. But ER does so much stuff. They really gonna know? I mean, they do a lot of stuff. I guess this is not esoteric. But anyway,
Well,
that's how I'm doing.
on a serious note, real quick, I
That was
do
serious.
want.
I was in.
No, I know, but from my serious take that I want to start off this podcast. So I was listening to the last episode that came out. We were covering the topic about Ananda Lewis, VJ, MTV VJ. She lost her life to breast cancer. Mom, that part, I think in my attempt to, let me tell you this. I think I should have put a little bit more gravity, a little bit more levity to it. Is that the right word? Like I needed to take it a bit more seriously. The reason why I'm saying that is like, guys, I did my residency at Morehouse School of Medicine in Grady. And in our 5 years of general surgery residency, I did a lot of breast surgery, a lot of breast cancer work. And I felt like I should have I don't know, I felt like I should have added a bit more. I should have gave some resources, particularly since I did a lot of this stuff. Now, granted, I haven't done breast surgery in over 10 years. And a lot has changed for the better. But, shout out to Dr. Okoli, shout out to the breast cancer and the surgical oncology that occurred at Grady Memorial, because that really is like, it's God's work, right? You're dealing with a lot of folks who have cancer, and particularly with breast cancer, you have a big indigent population, immigrant population, and a lot of times the resources aren't there to treat them. But I found this article that she put out there, and Alfred, if you can put this up, it's from Essence Magazine, and it's an actual essay that she wrote, obviously before she passed away. But the name of the article is Ananda Lewis on Living with Stage 4 Breast Cancer, and her message for Black women: prevention is the real cure. And I know that a lot of stuff has been going back and forth in terms of, did she go through the traditional methods? If she had gone through the traditional methods, would she have lived longer,
Survived,
especially
right.
having a child, right? Would she have survived? And there is, this article, I think, offers a really good glimpse into her mind as to what she was thinking about, right? And I won't get into too much into it, but basically she talks about, she did a combination of traditional medicine as well as non-traditional medicine. She talks about doing like hyperbaric chambers and trying to get the toxins out of her system, but also at the same time, she talks about doing traditional treatment and ultimately running out of money. She said that was the big hurdle for her, is that she ran out of money, and that put her back. Running out of money as well as COVID-19 put her back like several years. And when it was time when she got her insurance back years later, it had advanced and she was behind the 8 ball. But I encourage everyone to really read this article to get a little glimpse of what she's thinking in her mind, because I think it's super important. I think that I just should have came from a different perspective. I should have read this article before I started with what I wanted to say. So,
Well, I'll
I
say in your defense, I don't know that we were actually going to talk about Ananda more than it was just, it happened pretty close to when we were going to record. And
that's right. Bail me out. Bail me out.
Well, I'm not bailing you out. This is actually what happened.
That is a bailout.
And I happened to say rest in peace, Ananda Lewis. So I got a call from Dr. Lucy Mitchell, who, shout out, she's been on the show before. But I got a call from her that same week that episode came out, and she actually made me aware that Ananda's sister is actually a physician. Her name is Dr. Lakshmi Emery, and she did a Entertainment Tonight segment with Kevin Frazier about Ananda's, whole journey through breast cancer and her eventual death. So we'll put that link in the show notes as well, so that if you're interested in watching. But she goes into kind of what was in Ananda's mind as well, kind of the conflict. Obviously, her sister being a doctor, her sister also revealed that she herself had breast cancer, and we know that Ananda's mom had also had breast cancer. So there's a question of whether or not there, at least in my mind, is there some genetic component to this in their family. But she does talk about kind of the conflict that she had with her sister, and then just kind of, that moment of coming to accepting that this is what Ananda wanted, that she wanted to be able to handle this in her own way, and her as a doctor, being one way, but also being, her sister being supportive. So she talks about that. So we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Well, I do have some actionable advice that I wanted to bring up, and it's very short. I have 5 steps. I always keep notes on these things because I want to make sure I get my mind right. But step 1 is get organized with your care team, right? So that's going to be either your PCP, your surgical oncologist, your breast surgeon, your radiation oncologist, right? Or just
And
your
your family.
oncologist, right? Your family, even supportive care. Right. They are all part of your care team, right? Like the support groups that you're going to go to, you need to be able to have people who you can decompress to who have possibly gone through the same thing that you're going through, right? That's super important. They are a part of your care team. So, yeah, that's a good point. Number 2, I have prepare to ask the right questions, own the conversation, right? Like this is your health. And this part I think is difficult, right? Because it's like, well, I don't know what questions to ask. I don't feel confident enough to steer the direction, to steer the conversation in for my own benefit. I feel like I'm going to be led this way. And I think that's where, making sure that you're getting organized with your care team, making sure you're talking with people who've gone through this process, getting with support groups, super important, right?
Yeah.
Because as me and you both know, like if you don't ask the right questions, sometimes you may get led astray. Super important. Super
Right.
important.
Or you're making decisions based on something that you really don't understand. And that understanding the information is just as, if not more important, as getting the information, right? So if you have to tell your doc, listen, talk to me like I'm 4, then that's what you need to say.
Yeah, I think you feel like, well, they're going to look at me a certain way if I ask that question, but it's like, no, any doctor worth his grain or her grain and salt should be able to explain things in a way that you understand. I still have attendings right now who I work with directly who are horrible at explaining concepts. And I probably put myself, somewhere in that range, but it's crazy. It's crazy. Like docs are they're not good at that.
Well, we're not necessarily taught how to talk to patients. We are taught that we have to speak to patients, but we are not necessarily taught how to speak to patients because much of medical school is learning medical jargon. So
Yeah. I got prioritize emotional well-being and side effect support, right? Like you got to be able, this is something that I think she was talking about in her article. It's like, I got to be able to make sure that emotionally, mental wise, that I'm on point, right? I got to be ready to fight this.
Yeah. And that can be tough. I had a friend of mine, this, I had a really close friend of mine who had breast cancer, was diagnosed early 40s. And, there was a point at which she had to have surgery, start going through the chemo and everything. And, her sister and her niece, myself, we all kind of just pitched in. Her, for me, and you were a part of this, knee, it was being on the phone when she went to appointments, and just being there when no one else was able to be there physically with her. And so I literally would rearrange my patient schedule so that the time that she had her appointments with her doctor, I was on the phone. You were able to be on the phone. So that worked. And then the other thing her sister and her niece worked out was a schedule where someone could fly in and be with her every single day. So I went out there for a week. her mom was out there, her sister, like she had a rotating schedule of people who were able to be there with her, support her. She felt sick. She was nauseated, vomiting, all kinds of GI symptoms, and just helping her kind of through this. So it can be a very grueling thing.
The side effects are no joke.
Yeah,
the side
it can
effects.
be very
you get you need a lot of support from that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may have to do some lifestyle changes to get through that. That's a powerful tool, right? That she talked about that also.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, I'm gonna keep it quick so we can continue to keep it moving. Is think, and this is what you mentioned. Think beyond yourself, right? Genetics and family matter.
Yeah.
Right. So it may not just, you may not just be, patient zero, right? Like you just may happen to be part of a whole, pedigree of people who may be carrying these genes around. So it may be important for you to check that out and make sure that, you don't have any of those genes that make you a higher risk of getting this. So just some steps to think about. And then I do have some, if you go to the show notes, there is something in there where I have stuff, from the National Breast Cancer Organization. It has some breast cancer resources in there, but it's just something I just wanted to add because I just, when you just go back and you listen to an episode, you're like, yo, man, I could have shown up, but a little bit better.
Well, yeah, so, but I mean, we didn't have it wasn't a scheduled topic. But yeah, no, I appreciate the nuance, and I think everybody else will appreciate the nuance. It's not an easy discussion to have.
I think that the thing that I keep going back is, she has a son. I think he's 14. That's crazy. Not being with your mom, for a significant portion of your life. That has to be very difficult.
Yeah.
That has to be very difficult. Would you ever, what are your thoughts on leaving the world knowing that you have, like, your kids are still young, like, particularly, like...
Okay, let's not talk about that, because why you talk about that? They're gonna make me start crying. I can't even think about it. Don't make me think about that.
I think it's crazy. I think even thinking about you, right? Like the thought of losing you. You're my best friend. You are like the 100th best co-host I've ever had. It's like,
really?
Hey, yeah, man. What? You think the asshole stops because you cry? Fuck out of here. Right? Keep it moving.
No,
but no,
I literally can't even think about that without like tearing up. It's just, oh my God. Like, I really feel for Ananda, because one of the things that her sister said was that she wanted to make it to her son's graduation.
She did.
Her son was graduating from middle school.
8th grade.
Yeah. And she made it to the day. They actually she didn't make it to the graduation, but she made it to the day. And with everything going on, she ended up passing on that day. And it's in the interview, you can hear it. But she says that they gave the son the option of going or not going, and he chose to go.
Go to where?
The graduation.
Okay.
It was later that day, but she had died earlier in the day. But she wanted to make it to the day of his graduation, and she was able to. And I'm just like, God, like, she literally left knowing she was going to miss a milestone. You know what I mean? Like,
so you're saying that she should have went like earlier, or?
No, I'm saying how, like, tormenting. Was it tormenting for her, or was it?
Yeah.
Or was she at peace? I don't know. Like, I don't know how I would feel. I don't know how I would feel knowing, that I've made it to the milestone. I made it to the day, but I won't get to see my baby cross the stage. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
But don't bring up things like that. Otherwise, I cry.
The reason I bring that up
I'm
is
a G. So
the reason I bring that up is just, leaving the world knowing that you left something on the table. That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Like,
tough.
That's
tough.
a tough one, right? Like when you is there a part where you're just like, look, I'm out. You get all my savings, or is it like, yo, I'm putting all the cards on the table. You give me chemo, hyperbaric, give me radiation, give me all that. Yeah. I'm staying.
Yeah.
Do you see? Like that's tough.
I think
that's a lot of suffering.
I think there is a point. I hope that there is a point that even in this type of scenario, I hope that there is a point at which someone gets to be at peace with knowing that they are leaving this earth, knowing that their children will be loved and cared for. And I think that, at least based on the conversation that Kevin Frazier had with Ananda's sister, I think that there was at least that peace of mind, that she felt like my son is going to be in good hands, And so I would hope that she left this world at peace and not tormented, right? Like those are my own words. Those are my own thoughts about potentially how I might feel. But I hope that she was at peace.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, let's rest in peace, Ananda Lewis. Thoughts and prayers, T's and P's. Once again, but guys, to take some action, go ahead and take a look at those resources that are in the show notes. Right? Yeah. These are super important. If let's say you're not going through this, you may know somebody who might be going through this, and it'll be, I think it'll be interesting. It'll be very nice to pass this along to find out really small actionable steps that you can take or that person can take if they're going through this process, especially if they feel like they're going at it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Love you, babe. Love you. Heartsies. Heartsies. All right. So let's talk about something a little bit different.
All right, guys. So we're going to end this segment here, but stay tuned for the next segment. In the next segment, we're going to be talking about how Dr. Nee is going to break 20 minutes in a 5K and how he thinks he's going to be benching 250 pounds. So stay tuned.